All right. Well, you guys, have a great week. I'll see you guys on Monday too. And thank you, John, so much. I appreciate your leadership and I appreciate you taking the reins in this. So have a wonderful meeting, and I'll tell you guys about how things are going next week. Okay.
You can mute yourselves. I want to go straight to PowerPoint right now. Okay, so today I want to talk a little bit about how and really why we age. First, we'll start with the why. We age because our bodies really aren't designed to live forever. Okay, and I don't think that's such a bad thing. But we don't want to regret going older, is a point I want to make, because it's a privilege that is denied to many. So before I get into this little explanation about aging, I want to talk a little bit about my dad. Okay, so this is not my dad, but it reminds me of my dad. And my dad, he passed away in 2004, and he was 82 years old. And he enlisted in the Navy when he was 18 and fought in World War II. And he was always an inspiration to me. He was very active. He played basketball, but he was a really amazing tennis player. And he really continued to play tennis really way into his later years, which I was always really impressed with. Unfortunately, in 1979, his wife, my mother, passed away, and that was hard on him. We talked years later, just before he passed away, and how much my mom meant to him, and how it was really a challenge, really, to go on in his life, and to he did actually go through a period where he wasn't very active, and was actually getting quite depressed because of the loss of my mom and his wife. So I always tried to encourage him. I always tried to to be a good son, and in return, he gave me a lot of wisdom and tips in life and things like that. So, but from the time I knew him to the time he passed away, he was just really a positive, wonderful man. And I remember he told me, he said, "John, if for how many years you have on this earth, live life to the fullest. Okay, stay active, and you'll be fine." Okay, so what are the main causes of aging? Okay, so we're looking at this little diagram over here, and we see these little reasons here for what were called the biological hallmarks of aging. Okay, so causes of aging include, but are not limited to, oxidative stress, glycation, telomere shortening, side reactions, mutations, aggregation of proteins, etc. In other words, it's a progressive damage to these structures and functions that we perceive and characterize as aging. So this is something that we face in our bodies on a daily basis. These things are going on, and yet we continue with our life. We're going about life, doing the things that we have to do, but we're probably not conscious all the time of these things going on. Why would we be? But it's the scientific reality of what happens inside of us, and eventually, over time, certain things start to happen. They cause us to age. Okay, so this is part one of a three-part series that I'm doing, which I've kind of entitled "Primary Hallmarks of Cause of Damage and Aging." So what I'm going to talk about today are these first four causes of damage: genomic instability, telomere attrition, epigenetic alterations, and loss of protostasis. Okay, so the first one we're going to talk about is actually this one right here, is epigenetics. Okay, so what is an epigenetic alteration? Okay, so I'll just read this. It's a heritable change that does not affect the DNA sequence, but results in a change in gene expression. One example of an epigenetic change is DNA methylation, the addition of a methyl group or a chemical capped part of the DNA molecule, which prevents certain genes from being expressed. And another example is a histone modification. If histones squeeze DNA tightly, the DNA cannot be read by the cell, and that will lead to the death of the cell. So that's one of the four. The other thing is genomic instability. And this is a characteristic of most cancer cells. It is an increased tendency of genome alteration during cell division. Post-translational modifications of histone tails are closely associated with the regulation of the cell cycle as well as chromatin structure. So as we see here in a normal cell, when DNA damage occurs, there's growth arrest, okay? And that leads to going one or two paths. It's either going to be damaged or repaired. So if it's repaired, yes, there'll be mitosis and there can be repair of the cell. If not, then it goes to apoptosis, which is, of course, the negative thing that really results in cell damage and death. Now, in a cancer cell, this is really accentuated. Okay, so there's terrible things that are going on in the cell at this point. So there's damage repair to the repair mechanism, inability to sense the damage. There's an inability to arrest what is going on. And so there's this damage to the apoptotic pathway and the perpetuation of heirs to daughter cells that you see there. Okay, so this leads to a rapid accumulation of genetic damage. Okay, so the next one is proteostasis loss. And proteostasis loss of protein homeostasis is what this is. And it's a common feature of aging and disease that's characterized by the appearance of non-native protein aggregates in various tissues. Okay, so this is really where a lot of dysfunction happens, and it leads to mutations, biosynthetic errors, energetic deficits, protein damage, and of course aging. And what aging kind of looks like, if you look at this, this is not a really clear slide, it's an old slide, but cell damage and dysfunction leading to the loss of our stem cells. So as we age, our stem cell numbers diminish and begin to mutate. So when we're a baby child, growing up, we have lots of these stem cells, okay, and they're healthy stem cells in most cases. And then as we age, even by 4 years old, there's really a decrease already in stem cell population in our bodies. And then actually when we get to 10 years old, you see even more of a decline. And then things kind of level off a little bit until we hit 32, 33, 34, 35 years of age. And then we start to see some other things happening. And this is the mutation part of it. And so as we get older, we have less cells in our body, less healthy cells in our body because they've mutated. And then really towards the end of our life, it could go longer than 80 there, but that's kind of the average life expectancy in most countries. Then we see these cells really not being able to do their job anymore or actually dying off. Okay, so this last one is something that is being studied a lot because it's a real important thing that we see, and really why our cells really stop doing their job, and this is telomere attrition. So as cells divide, the telomere ends of the chromosomes, as you can see there, eventually get shorter. Okay, eventually the enzyme that adds telomeric repeat sequences, or telomerase, gets silenced, and the telomeres are too short for the cells to divide. Shortened telomeres are associated with aging cells. Alternative lengthening of telomeres, or ALT, is a telomerase-independent mechanism used by a broad range of neoplasms to maintain telomere length, permitting replication during their progression. And that is a mouthful. But in simple terms, as the cell divides over time, this healthy cell declines, okay? And then telomeres shorten until cell division stops, which is called senescence. Okay, so there's a question here, and scientists have studied, can telomeres be lengthened? Okay, so number one, what do many people already know? Telomeres are longest when we're young and naturally shorten as we age. That makes sense, okay? Number two, what scientists and some people who meditate know, that meditation increases gray matter and lengthens telomeres, helping to slow the effect of the aging in the brain. Meditation also helps to protect our telomeres, the protective caps at the end of our chromosomes. So as you know today, there's a lot of people getting into meditation and yoga. This is actually a very, very positive thing to do because they've done studies on this and they've really found that telomeres are being helped by meditation and yoga and other things, deep breathing, for instance. So, but what very few people, including scientists, doctors, and other experts know is, and this is what I'm really excited about, and I got excited about it a little while ago, about 9 months ago, and it's basically this. So, is there technology that exists that can activate, elevate, and regenerate stem cells in the body through elevating this peptide? Okay, and this peptide is called GHK-Cu, or more simply, copper peptide. So what is it? Okay, so there's a little explanation. I'm not going to read this over there. If you get this PowerPoint later, you can read that. But basically, in simple terms, GHK-Cu stimulates proliferation of keratinocytes and increased expression of integrins and a P63 protein in the epidermal stem cells. Since P63 is considered to be an important marker of stem cell and anti-senescence protein, which has been shown to slow the aging process, the authors concluded that GHK copper peptide is able to recover epidermal cells and increase their ability to repair themselves. Similar activity was observed for copper-free GHK. So this is really exciting. This is an exciting part of science. I wish I would have been introduced to it when I was younger. I found this out much later in my life, but I'm very excited about it. So what do we want to know? We want to know who's behind this and what is this new technology all about? Okay, so here's the man here you see on the left, David Schmidt, who is the Lifewave CEO and the inventor of patented phototherapy wellness patches. Okay, he is the one that came up with this technology, and I won't go into all of his biography and everything because we don't have time. But let's just say that he was doing a lot of studies and actually was given projects throughout his career to find different kind of therapies. For instance, he was working for the Navy to find a remedy, a therapy that would be beneficial to submarine crews, okay, that have to live under really difficult conditions for long periods of time in the water. So he first came up with a patch that you see here on the left, that little white thing, and it's called the phototherapy patch. And the first phototherapy patch that he created was called the Energy Enhancer patch. Okay, and then of course, through all of his work, he's doing clinical studies, double-blind, random, placebo-controlled studies to prove the efficacy of these patches. So how do the patches work? Okay, so Lifewave patches are made from natural materials that reflect specific frequencies of light. When Lifewave patches are worn, these light frequencies trigger specific chemical changes in the body. And we can actually see this. If we look over here at this diagram of a human being with energy surrounding him, we can actually detect these energy fields around human beings. Okay, so what is in the patch? The patch has an energy field as well. We can actually see this through what is called GDV, or gas discharge visualization technique, which allows in real-time viewing of energy fields. It's also called the Curtilian effect, and you can see to the right there in these diagrams the glow around the edge of an object in a high-intensity electrical field. Okay, this is what is actually emanating from the patch when they reflect light into the body and communicate with the cells in the body. So as it shows here, there's a white patch and a tan patch with the energy enhancer. So this is the first creation, first invention that David Schmidt came up with, which, you know, of course, is very exciting and led to more studies and more different kinds of patches. Okay, so what I wanted to introduce now is the X39 phototherapy stem cell patch, which David Schmidt really, he really calls that his greatest achievement, his greatest invention. And a lot of studies have been done into this copper peptide, okay? And that's why they've called it the holy grail in age regeneration. So to elevate this copper peptide, it took quite a lot of time and money to develop it in the laboratories, and then finally the studies came out, and it was simply remarkable. So the new patch, this one that came out in 2019, the X39, as it shows here on the left, you know, you have an immediate effect. You'll experience an immediate effect through elevation of antioxidants and a decrease in inflammation. And this is really what is so exciting. When I tried it, I was just amazed at the benefits that I could feel really quite quickly. And I've been using this X39 patch for 9 months now. So you see the benefits over here on the right. You know, rapid pain relief, of just talking about reduced inflammation, supports wound healing. There's some really amazing studies done on the wound healing effects of X39. Energy and vitality. So just like the energy enhancer patch, it helps the body to have more energy. Mental clarity. It enhances sports performance. Faster recover from exercise, improve skin appearance, and more. There's been more fascinating things actually that have come out through the clinical studies that the company has been doing. Okay, so there's my little friend there. There's a little Rocky the squirrel. Okay, but wait, there might be more. And yes, there is a lot more. Okay. These are the patches that have been developed. They all have a specific target, but yet they've found through studies that they've had more than one effect. They've caused more positive beneficial things. But I won't go into that right now, but I just like to kind of finish this off. Suzanne Summers, who you might know, is a Lifewave ambassador. She's not, she doesn't get paid to have that position, but she had an incredible experience with glutathione patches, which you see up in up on that first line up there. And Suzanne was actually getting a little bit later in her career, and she had a hard time keeping her glutathione level, which is glutathione is the master antioxidant in the body. And so she was actually getting injections to keep that glutathione level high. And so she bumped into David Schmidt and found out about the glutathione patch and tried the patch, and lo and behold, you know, the glutathione patch really had a significant effect on her. Through the studies, by the way, glutathione patches can raise the glutathione levels by 300%. In 24 hours, which is truly remarkable. So she became a spokesperson, ambassador for the company, and to this day is saying wonderful things about this company. And we actually have a huge community of users. Lots of them are athletes, and some of them are very famous athletes. You see down in the right-hand corner, there's Michael Phelps, 8 gold medals at the 2008 Beijing Olympics. Seen here, little arrows there showing patches on the swimmers there. And then next is David Beckham. You know, there's on his, just below his collarbone, to the left and right, he's wearing these energy enhancer patches. And also this famous marathon number, I can't read her name right now, but famous Japanese marathon runner who was an Olympic gold medalist. So these athletes have tried these patches and obviously to gain an edge in their competition. There's at this point 300 plus Olympic athletes who wore Lifewave patches in the Beijing Olympics in 2008, which is really remarkable. So the patches have been around, and the patches have not just been used, of course, by celebrities and athletes, but by average people like us. Okay, not that we're average, but okay. And so that's the conclusion. I'm filling in for Linda today, so I'm honored to do that. Sorry if my presentation was a little bit rough today, and I kind of sped through things a little bit too quickly, I think. But anyway, here's our little support team, Linda, of course, and then there's me and Philip and Nancy, Paul and Rebecca. So if any of these people can, that you are in contact with, they can also help you to learn more about this company, and I will finish it up right there. You guys can all unmute yourselves, and we'll be back to there. Okay.